buckle up because we're diving into the world of Elon Musk. And you've really outdone yourself this time with the source material, rockets, electric cars, even trying to understand what's going on with Twitter. This is going to be a wild ride.
Separating the hype from the truly fascinating when it comes to Elon Musk, that's the challenge, isn't it?
It really is, but that's what these deep dives are for.
Absolutely. I think his story, maybe even more than others, provides a glimpse into what it means to be human in this day and age, what drives innovation, ambition. That's what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so let's start by going all the way back. His childhood in South Africa, it's almost like a superhero origin story, right? But instead of, being bitten by a radioactive spider, he's got his face buried in lines of code.
Right, except in this case, the radioactive spider is probably more like a Commodore VIC-20, which his dad bought him.
Okay, so speaking of his dad, Elon Musk. From these articles, complicated feels like an understatement. He describes his own parenting style as an extremely stern, streetwise autocracy. I mean, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it's fascinating. You read Errol's quotes and he's boasting about setting his kids up for success, all the opportunities he gave them. But at the same time, he talks about this really harsh, almost sink or swim approach to parenting. Like when Elon was bullied as a kid and Errol defended the bully, he said the kid had just lost his father.
Wild.
Wild, right?
And then you've got May Musk, Elon's mother, claiming that Errol was verbally abusive, calling her boring, stupid, and ugly. Errol denies it, but wow.
It's hard to imagine that not having a lasting impact on someone, especially Elon, who seems so driven by this need to prove himself, to defy expectations.
So you have this volatile father figure. You have a childhood that seems to be equal parts privilege and hardship. It makes you wonder about his fascination with computers, with programming. Was that something nurtured by his father or something he gravitated to on his own?
It seems like this was all Elon. This drive, this hunger for knowledge, it was there from the beginning. You hear stories about him teaching himself basic programming in 3 days, just completely immersing himself in it. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with the video game arcade. He started with his cousin as a teenager.
Wait, remind me about that again. He hacked arcade games with his cousin or something.
Basically, they reprogrammed the game so they could play for free. Pretty clever, right?
Talk about early signs of being a tech whiz.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about being good with computers. I mean, think about it. He was already thinking like an entrepreneur.
You can definitely see how those early experiences shaped his trajectory. He goes from hacking arcade games to building companies that revolutionize the internet. Zip2, PayPal. It's like he was coding the future before most people even knew what the internet was.
He definitely had a knack for spotting opportunities. And not just spotting them, but seizing them. He wasn't afraid to take risks, to push boundaries. Remember, he was already talking about electric cars, about space exploration, even back then.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. While everyone else was just trying to wrap their heads around email, he's already got his sights set on Mars and the future of transportation. It's wild to think about, right? This guy's out there building internet companies, making millions, and yet in the back of his mind, he's got this whole other plan brewing, SpaceX.
And it wasn't just some pipe dream. He was actively researching rocket science, teaching himself the fundamentals. Did you know he actually tried to buy decommissioned rockets from Russia?
Wait, seriously?
Well,
Like they were on eBay or something?
I know, right? He just showed up in Russia with a suitcase full of cash, ready to buy some ICBMs and start launching things into space.
Classic Elon. But that fell through, right? Otherwise, SpaceX might have had a very different origin story.
It might have. But you can see how that experience, that frustration with the existing system, fueled his determination. He even said later that if they'd been willing to sell him a rocket, he might not have started SpaceX at all.
That's kind of mind-blowing. So instead, he decides to build his own rockets from scratch. And this is where that whole idea of first principles thinking comes in, right?
Absolutely. Musk was convinced that the traditional aerospace industry was way too bogged down in what they thought they knew. He wanted to start from scratch, question everything, and find a more efficient, more innovative way to do things.
It reminds me of that story about him on the plane back from Russia.
Yeah.
He's sitting there crunching numbers on his laptop, trying to figure out how to make rockets cheaper. And the engineers around him are basically laughing at him.
They probably thought he was some kind of crazy Silicon Valley millionaire with delusions of grandeur. Little did they know.
And here we are. But it wasn't just about building cheaper rockets. It was about his ultimate goal, colonizing Mars. I mean, that's some next-level ambition right there.
Talk about a long-term vision. Most people would be happy just disrupting the taxi industry or building a social media platform. Musk sets his sights on another planet.
It's almost like he was born for it. But SpaceX wasn't all smooth sailing in those early days, was it? Weren't there some explosions?
There were definitely some learning experiences, let's call them, and near bankruptcies. Remember, this was a time when most people thought landing a rocket back on Earth was the stuff of science fiction.
Didn't they even have a tradition of collecting pieces of exploded rockets?
They did, like souvenirs from a particularly intense learning experience. But that's what's so remarkable about Musk and his team. They didn't give up. They embraced failure as part of the process.
There's something very inspiring about that, even if it means watching a few rockets go boom along the way. But it wasn't just technical challenges they faced. Didn't Musk get into it with NASA at one point?
Oh, yeah, he sued them.
What?
Yep, sued them over their contracting practices. He felt like they were stifling competition, giving preferential treatment to established companies.
And this is where you see that other side of Musk, right? That willingness to fight, to take on anyone, even the U.S. government, if he feels like it's the right thing to do.
And you know what? He won. SpaceX got those contracts, proving that a private company could compete with the big dogs in space.
And then came that incredible moment. SpaceX landed a rocket back on Earth. I mean, talk about a game changer.
It was a pivotal moment, not just for SpaceX, but for the entire space industry. Reusable rockets meant drastically lower costs, which opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
It's amazing to see something that was once considered impossible become a reality. And it all stemmed from this one person's relentless drive and vision. But SpaceX is just one piece of the Elon Musk puzzle. Next, we'll explore how he set his sights on revolutionizing another industry here on Earth, electric vehicles. Get ready to charge up with Tesla motors. It's incredible to think that the same guy who's launching rockets into space also decided to tackle the auto industry.
Right. And with Tesla, you really see this interesting shift in Musk's approach. It's still about pushing the boundaries of technology, of course, but there's this added layer of, I don't know, urgency, like he's on a mission to save the planet.
Yeah, it's almost like he sees Tesla as part of a bigger plan to safeguard humanity. And I guess, in a way, it is. I mean, if you're serious about colonizing Mars, you got to make sure there's still an Earth left to launch from, right?
Exactly. He's been pretty vocal about the need to transition to sustainable energy. But, and this should come as no surprise, no Elon Musk venture is without its share of drama.
Oh, absolutely not. The guy is like a walking, talking headline. Remember those stories about him sleeping on the factory floor during the Model 3 launch?
It's almost unbelievable. But it also gives you a glimpse into his mindset, that incredible work ethic, the relentless drive to succeed.
You know, I was reading about how he personally inspected every single Model S that came off the production line in those early days. And like, if he found a problem, he wouldn't just send it back to be fixed. He'd grab a wrench and get under the hood himself.
That's classic Musk. He's got this engineer's brain that just can't resist a problem. But it also created this really intense, demanding environment for the people who worked for him.
There's that quote from one of the Tesla engineers that always stuck with me. He said, working with Elon is like having two bosses, Elon, and then Elon's shadow, which is even more terrifying.
Yeah, I read that one. But you have to admit, the results speak for themselves. Tesla went from this niche car company to one of the most valuable automakers in the world in record time.
It's pretty remarkable, especially when you think about how many times they were on the verge of collapse. Production hell during the Model 3 rollout comes to mind.
Oh, total chaos. They were behind schedule, over budget, and Musk was pushing everyone, including himself, to the absolute limit. Remember that story about him building a giant tent in the parking lot to ramp up production?
It's like something out of a movie. I mean, who does that?
Elon Musk, that's who. And the craziest part is, it worked. They managed to pull it off against all odds.
It's like he's got this weird superpower where he can just will things into existence, you know? But Tesla's just one piece of the puzzle. We've got SpaceX, we've got Tesla, and then there's Neuralink, the Boring Company, Solar City. It's like he's got a master plan to take over the world.
Or at least reshape it in his image. But you're right, it does make you wonder, what's next for Elon Musk? What impossible dream will he tackle next?
And maybe more importantly, what kind of impact will it have on the rest of us? It's a lot to think about.
It definitely is. But that's what makes his story so fascinating, isn't it? He forces us to confront these big questions about technology, about the future, about what it means to be human in this rapidly changing world.
That's a great point. And I think it's a perfect place to wrap up this deep dive. From humble beginnings in South Africa to revolutionizing entire industries, Elon Musk's journey is a testament to the power of ambition, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of what seems impossible.
Absolutely. He's a constant reminder that the future is unwritten
Mhm.
and that one person really can make a difference.
Well said. That's all the time we have for today. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never be afraid to dream big.